Hey everyone, and welcome back to Joey's Retro Handhelds. I'm Joey, and today we're going to be setting up KNULLI as a custom firmware for some devices. KNULLI is a fork of Batacera, so if anybody is familiar with emulation station-based custom firmwares, you know what to expect here going in, from a looks perspective at least. There are a ton of emulators, PortMaster support, box art scraping, Bluetooth support, HDMI support, wireless support, and a whole bunch more. It is fully featured. Now, as of today, the Anbernic H700 lineup of devices are supported, along with the TrimUI Brick and Smart Pro. I'll have links to everything in the video in the description, but if this changes, you can find the information on their website as far as supported devices go. Now, for hardware that you need, besides your actual device, you're going to need at least 1 or 2 SD cards depending on the device that you have, and if it has 2 SD card slots or not. Now, if you're doing one single SD card, I would suggest a 128GB or 256GB SD card. And if you're doing 2 SD cards, I would suggest a 32GB or 64GB card for the operating system, and then a 128 or 256GB card for the ROM card. Now, it's your call on 1 or 2 SD cards if you have the choice. Some people like separating the two in case the operating system corrupts, or if you need to update the operating system card in case KNULLI gets a new update, and it saves time not having to redo all of your games and all that sort of thing. Now, personally, I would actually recommend 2 SD cards if you have the ability to do so, if you want my 2 cents. Lastly, you are going to need a USB SD card reader, which, again, all of this is in the description for what I use and what I recommend. Let's go ahead and download KNULLI's release from their GitHub, and we'll scroll down to the installation package download section and grab the download for the device that you have. We're going to use a program called Rufus, which you can grab from the Rufus website. The portable version is just fine, and that'll let us write this image to your operating system SD card. Open Rufus, make sure the device listed is your connected SD card to the PC, the operating system card if you're going to be doing the 2-card method, then click Select and choose the image that we just downloaded from the KNULLI website. Then go ahead and click Start and OK to any pop-ups and let it do its thing. When that's done, pop that SD card into the OS slot on your device. Usually it's labeled TF1 or TFOS, and then turn on the device. Now, quick disclaimer. I had EmuOS cards in my device before KNULLI, and when I tried turning on the device, it wouldn't turn on. I had to push the reset button on the device to get it to turn on, just in case this happens to anybody else. Now, wait for it to do all of its fun things of updating and creating and doing all the stuff that it needs to do, and when you see the main menu, push Start, then head to Quit, and then Shut Down System. Now, for those of you that are doing the 2 SD card method, connect the second SD card to your PC and then open Rufus again. Make sure the device is your SD card, then choose non-bootable for boot selection. Make sure the file system says exFAT. Give the card a name if you want. I just call it KNULLI for simplicity, and then click Start. When it's done, you can eject. Put both SD cards back into your device and turn it on. Push Start at the main menu and choose System Settings. Head to Storage and then choose your SD card. Switch from internal to the SD card name. Again, I named mine KNULLI, so I see that there, and it has how many gigs are free on the side of it. So it's an easy way for you to know which one is the SD card. Push B and then quit and then restart. During the reboot, KNULLI is basically setting up all of the folders that you need on the second SD card. When you get back to the main menu, go ahead and shut down the device once again. Now, for both single and dual card users, put your SD card back into the PC. For dual card users, this will be your second SD card that you're going to be using for games. It should hopefully just show up in your File Explorer, but if it doesn't, open Disk Management in Windows, find the SD card in the list, and give a letter to the partition that we need. So you would just right-click, change drive letters and paths, click Add and choose a letter. Then click OK, and you should now see it in File Explorer. You should now see a whole bunch of folders, and if you head into the ROMs folder, this is where we can add our games. You can see that each folder is a gaming system. So all you need to do is put your corresponding games into the right folder. For BIOS files, if you head back, you'll see a BIOS folder, and your files can go inside of there. Now, as for finding ROMs and BIOS files, the ROMs GitHub is a great resource to help you find individual games, and if you search, you can also find BIOS files and a whole RetroArch pack. It's pretty easy. I have a link in the description to the required BIOS files that you would need for disk-based systems, in case you get confused. Now, alternatively, if you want a big set of games, the Heart 1G1R collection is a good option, but you will need to be logged in to archive.org to grab them, or you're just going to see locks like I do. It's nice since they are separated by system, so you can grab what you want. There is also the Retro ROMs Best set. Honestly, there's a whole bunch of sets like these if you search ROM sets. All you have to do is just make sure you put the right games in the right system folder. It's pretty easy. Once you're done loading your ROMs and BIOS files, put your SD card back into the device and turn it on. Now, before we play any games, there are a few things that I want to change, and maybe there's some things you want to change too as we talk about it. Go ahead and push Start and head into Game Settings. First things first, for Retro Achievement users, go ahead and sign in with your credentials if you want. There's also a missing BIOS checker here, but it might confuse you as it'll tell you if you're missing even optional BIOS files that aren't really required. Or it'll also just say you're missing all of the alternative BIOS options, even if you have the right BIOS option there. So I would just avoid this, it's going to confuse you. I would also turn off Check BIOS files before running a game because that can get quite annoying. Quick Resume mode is a cool option to just boot right back into the game that you were playing if you shut down while you were playing that game. Let's head into Game Rendering and Shaders. Now, any changes here are going to apply globally to all systems, at least RetroArch systems. And personally, I don't like shaders, so I'm going to turn those off. Again, this is optional. Back out, and if you want the fast forward to be a toggle instead of a hold, just enable it. It is set to auto by default, but I don't know what that means, so I'm just going to enable it. Now let's head into RetroArch hotkeys under Controls. And I'm pretty sure somebody was drunk when they made these hotkeys, so I need to change them all. Increase save slot number needs to be D-pad right. Decrease needs to be D-pad left. Rewind has to be L2. Fast forward as R2. Save state as R1. Load state as L1. RetroArch menu, I want it to be X, but no matter what face button I chose, it always ended up just being B on my handheld. I don't know if this is a bug, but it's a weird one. Reset, screenshot, auto translate, and the shaders, I want all of those off completely, so I'm going to set those to none. Now, just a reminder, the function or menu button on your device plus any of these hotkeys will do what it says. And so here's a picture of the hotkeys and what they do for any RetroArch core. For standalone emulators, they are still going to use the previous default hotkeys, unfortunately. Back out and head into Per System Advanced Configuration. If you choose a system, you can do per system changes if you'd like. For example, maybe you want to turn on color correction or turn off color correction for Game Boy games, and that sort of thing. So you can make per system changes here. Back out and head into Controller and Bluetooth settings, and if you want to use a Bluetooth device or controller, you can do that here and set it all up. Back out again and head into User Interface and Settings. Feel free to change the theme if you want. I like Artbook next, and that's really all I'm going to do here. Back out and head into Game Collection Settings. You can enable or disable the systems to show in Systems Displayed. But what's super cool here is if you head into Automatic Game Collections, you can enable Retro Achievements. That'll create a Retro Achievements tile on the home screen, and then any game that you have that has Retro Achievements will show up in there. It's pretty cool. Let's head into Sound Settings next, and I need to turn off this front-end music because it's just getting to me. So turn off front-end music and no more music on the front end. Thank God. Next up, let's head into Network Settings, and we can finally connect to our Wi-Fi. Now, I had some issues with this. I had to use a dedicated 2.4 gigahertz band SSID as it wasn't working with my 2.4/5 gigahertz band SSID. Not sure why, but that's what I had to do. But now that we have Wi-Fi working, we can head into Scraper next to scrape some box art. If you're going to be using Screen Scraper as a source, you'll need to get their login credentials from their website, so you just need to create an account. Then feel free to go into the scraper settings and adjust what you want to scrape and all that sort of thing. Personally, I just leave all of this as default, but you might want some different things. Then, when you're ready, just click Scrape Now, and all of this will be personal preference for whatever you want to scrape. Updates and Downloads has downloadable options for themes and contents and all that sort of thing. Sort of optional here, but there is more themes easily available, and you can download them right here. Device Settings has RGB LED controls if your device has that, so you can play around with that and choose what you want and colors and all that sort of thing. That is about it for settings. Let's go ahead and install PortMaster. Head over to Ports and then click Install PortMaster as an option. It's going to install and then click PortMaster when it's done. You're likely going to need to do a few updates and that sort of thing, so go through them until you get to the PortMaster home screen. Now, KNULLI's website does a better job than I will ever do of explaining how to set up PortMaster, so you should check out that for how to put your games on here and do your ports and all that sort of thing. Reminder again, you will need legal ports, legal files at least for the games, to get all of this working. So remember before, I showed you how to globally change settings, then I showed you per system settings, but we can also do per game settings. So find a game in your list and push and hold A to get to a nice menu. If you head into Advanced Game Options, you can change the emulator per game, or maybe you want to change some other settings on a per game basis. You can do all of that here. Because this custom firmware is solely based on never touching RetroArch settings inside of RetroArch, you have to do all of it through these menus. So that means no game overrides, core overrides, any of that sort of thing. You do all of it through the menus. One last thing for today, if you ever need to find your saves and states, or your cheats, all of them are right on your SD card in the folders right at the top level. So the saves folder has all of your saves and states, the cheats folder has all of your cheats, and that sort of thing. Otherwise, that is all I have for you today. Click a game, play, and have some fun. Don't forget to like and sub to help the channel grow. Come join me on the Discord to talk all about retro handhelds. Support me on Patreon if you like my stuff. And hope you all have a good one.